This is the incredible true story of how one moment of generational arrogance and cultural dismissiveness during one of the most watched international television events of the 1980s led to one of the most sophisticated and devastating responses in live broadcasting history, proving that true artistry and cultural sophistication can triumph over manufactured controversy and shallow celebrity, and that sometimes the most powerful education comes from those who have earned their wisdom through decades of authentic achievement. September 12, 1987. The Wembley Arena in London was buzzing with electric energy as MTV prepared to broadcast the first ever MTV Video Music Awards European Special, an ambitious international expansion of their hugely successful American awards show. The event was designed to celebrate the global reach of music television and to showcase the cultural exchange between American pop culture and European artistic traditions. The show was expected to reach an unprecedented 50 million viewers across 35 countries, making it one of the largest audiences ever assembled for a music television event. MTV executives had spent months coordinating with European broadcasters and cultural institutions to create a program that would demonstrate the network's growing international influence while respecting the sophisticated artistic heritage of European entertainment. The evening's lineup represented a carefully curated blend of contemporary pop stars and legendary cultural figures. Representing the cutting edge of 1980s popular music were Madonna, whose Who's That Girl tour had made her the most recognizable pop icon in the world; Prince, whose innovative musical style had revolutionized popular music; and George Michael, whose combination of British sophistication and American-style pop had made him a global phenomenon. Balancing this contemporary energy were distinguished representatives of European cultural tradition, including Alain Delon, whose four-decade career had made him synonymous with cinematic sophistication and artistic integrity; Catherine Deneuve, the French actress whose elegant screen presence had defined international cinema standards; and Sir Ian McKellen, the British actor whose theatrical achievements represented the pinnacle of European performing arts. The show's format was designed as a celebration of cultural cross-pollination, with contemporary artists presenting awards to legendary figures and established stars introducing emerging talents. The MTV producers believed this intergenerational approach would create compelling television while educating their young audience about the artistic foundations that had created the entertainment industry they were celebrating. For the first 2 hours of the broadcast, everything proceeded exactly as the producers had envisioned. The contemporary performers brought energy and excitement to their presentations, while the established artists provided context and gravitas that elevated the entire proceedings beyond typical award show superficiality. Madonna, in particular, had been a captivating presence throughout the evening. Wearing a stunning Versace gown that perfectly balanced avant-garde fashion with classical elegance, she had charmed the international audience with her wit, intelligence, and obvious preparation for the sophisticated European setting. But as the evening progressed toward its climactic moments, something began to shift in Madonna's demeanor. Whether it was the excitement of performing before such a massive international audience, or perhaps a reaction to what she perceived as excessive reverence for traditional European culture, she began to display the kind of rebellious irreverence that had made her famous, but was less appropriate for the cultural bridge building that the event was designed to promote. The moment that would change everything came when Madonna took the stage to present the Lifetime Achievement in Cinema Award to Alain Delon. The award was intended to honor his contributions not just to French cinema, but to the international film industry that had influenced and inspired artists across all forms of entertainment, including the music video medium that MTV had pioneered. As Madonna approached the microphone, the Wembley Arena fell into respectful silence. The 50 million viewers around the world were expecting a gracious tribute to one of cinema's most distinguished figures. What they got instead was a moment that would be discussed and analyzed for decades to come.
"You know," Madonna began, her voice carrying the confident authority that had made her such a commanding stage presence, "tonight we're celebrating a lot of legends from what people call the golden age of entertainment. And don't get me wrong, I have tremendous respect for the pioneers who came before us." The opening seemed promising, and Alain, standing in the wings prepared to receive his award, smiled politely as he listened to what appeared to be a conventional tribute. But Madonna was just getting started. "However," she continued, her tone shifting slightly toward the provocative edge that had characterized her most controversial moments, "I think it's important that we acknowledge something that nobody wants to talk about. These old Hollywood legends think they invented entertainment, but real art is about breaking rules, shocking people, and staying relevant." The audience began to sense that something unexpected was developing, and cameras caught glimpses of concerned expressions among the European cultural figures who were present as honored guests. Madonna's next comment would cross the line from irreverent to insulting, creating one of the most uncomfortable moments in awards show history. "Some of these classic actors are just museum pieces now, beautiful to look at, historically significant, but not really relevant to what artists are doing today. We're the ones pushing boundaries, challenging society, creating the art that actually matters in the modern world." The Wembley Arena fell into stunned silence. Madonna had not just dismissed classical Hollywood, she had specifically diminished the achievements of legendary performers while standing on a stage where she was supposed to be honoring one of those very legends. The cameras captured the shocked expressions of audience members who couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. The international television audience was experiencing one of those rare moments when live broadcasting captures something genuinely unexpected and uncomfortable. But perhaps most significantly, the cameras were focused on Alain Delon, who was standing in the wings listening to Madonna essentially describe him as an irrelevant museum piece, while she prepared to present him with an award for his lifetime achievements. What happened next would demonstrate the difference between manufactured controversy and genuine class, between attention-seeking behavior and genuine artistic dignity. Elaine walked onto the stage with the kind of perfect composure that had made him so compelling in his greatest dramatic roles. He moved with deliberate elegance, acknowledging Madonna with a polite nod while accepting the award she was holding with what appeared to be gracious professionalism. But instead of delivering a conventional acceptance speech, Elaine did something that completely transformed the evening's dynamic and created one of the most sophisticated responses to public disrespect ever captured on live television. "Mademoiselle Madonna," he began, his accented English carrying perfectly across the silent arena, "I want to thank you for this award, and more importantly, I want to thank you for providing such an illuminating example of the differences between entertainment and artistry." The unexpected direction of his response immediately captured everyone's attention. Madonna, who had expected either polite acceptance or awkward silence, found herself being addressed directly by someone who was clearly not intimidated by her fame or her attempt at controversy. "You speak about breaking rules and shocking people as if these were recent innovations. But perhaps you are not aware that European artists have been challenging conventions and pushing boundaries for centuries before American popular culture existed." He paused for just a moment, allowing his words to register with both Madonna and the 50 million viewers who were witnessing this unexpected education. The difference, however, is that we learned to shock through the power of our artistry, not through the weakness of our need for attention. The response was so unexpected and so intellectually sophisticated that it took several seconds for the full impact to register. Madonna, who had built her career on being the most provocative person in any room, was being calmly and systematically educated by someone who was demonstrating a completely different approach to artistic achievement and cultural influence.
But Alain was far from finished. You suggest that classical performers are museum pieces, irrelevant to modern artistic expression, he continued, his tone remaining conversational, but his words carrying the kind of intellectual weight that comes from decades of authentic achievement. This reveals something quite interesting about how American popular culture understands the relationship between tradition and innovation. He looked directly at Madonna with the kind of steady, analytical gaze that had made him so effective in psychological dramas. In European culture, we understand that true innovation comes from mastering traditional forms before attempting to transcend them. We create art that endures because we build upon foundations of excellence, rather than seeking to destroy everything that came before us in order to declare ourselves revolutionary. The arena remained completely silent, but the quality of the silence had changed from uncomfortable shock to respectful attention as the audience recognized they were witnessing something remarkable, a masterclass in how to respond to disrespect with dignity and intelligence. Alain's next comment would complete what was becoming one of the most elegant destructions of cultural arrogance ever delivered on live television. As for staying relevant, mademoiselle, I would suggest that true relevance is not measured by how much noise one makes, but by how much meaning one creates. The artists you describe as museum pieces created work that continues to inspire and influence new generations of performers, including, whether you recognize it or not, yourself. He held up the award she had presented to him. This recognition is not about nostalgia for the past. It is about understanding that authentic artistry transcends temporary fashion and cultural trends. What you call old Hollywood represents something that American popular culture has largely forgotten: the idea that entertaining people and creating lasting art are not contradictory goals. The response was so perfectly calibrated, so devastatingly effective, and so completely unexpected that it left Madonna, perhaps for the first time in her career, genuinely speechless. She had attempted to position herself as the voice of modern artistic relevance, and instead found herself being educated about the very foundations of the industry she claimed to be revolutionizing. But Alain's final comment would demonstrate the kind of grace and generosity that separated authentic class from manufactured controversy. "I do not expect you to agree with my perspective," he said, his tone becoming slightly warmer while maintaining its authority. "Your generation of artists has brought energy, innovation, and accessibility to entertainment that has expanded the reach of artistic expression in important ways. But perhaps there is room in the cultural conversation for both innovation and tradition, both contemporary relevance and enduring excellence." The speech concluded with Alain offering a slight bow to Madonna, who remained standing beside him in what appeared to be a state of stunned recognition that her attempt at controversy had been transformed into something far more sophisticated and meaningful. The Wembley Arena erupted in applause that was both respectful and enthusiastic. The 50 million viewers around the world had witnessed not just a response to disrespect, but a demonstration of how cultural differences could be addressed through intelligence and dignity rather than escalation and hostility. The impact of what became known as the Wembley moment was immediate and global. Within hours of the broadcast, entertainment journalists and cultural critics were analyzing not just what happened, but what it revealed about the tension between American popular culture and European artistic tradition, between contemporary innovation and classical excellence, between entertainment designed for immediate impact and art created for lasting significance. For Madonna personally, the incident became a turning point in how she approached her own artistic development. According to interviews she gave years later, Alain's response forced her to reconsider her relationship with artistic tradition and to develop a more sophisticated understanding of how innovation could build upon rather than simply reject classical foundations. The incident also enhanced Alain's reputation as not just a gifted actor, but as a thoughtful cultural commentator who could articulate complex ideas about art and tradition with both authority and generosity. His ability to transform Madonna's attack into an educational moment demonstrated exactly the kind of cultural sophistication that European artistic tradition was designed to cultivate. For MTV and international broadcasting, the Wembley moment became a case study in how live television could capture authentic human interaction that was far more compelling than any scripted content. The genuine surprise and education that occurred between Madonna and Alain created exactly the kind of cultural bridge building that the European special had been designed to promote, albeit in a completely unexpected way.
The long-term cultural impact of the incident extended far beyond that single evening in September 1987. The exchange between Madonna and Alain became a favorite reference point for discussions about the relationship between popular culture and artistic tradition, the difference between innovation and destruction, and the possibility of maintaining respect for classical excellence while embracing contemporary creativity. Years later, both Madonna and Alain would reference the incident in interviews, though always with mutual respect and acknowledgement that it had been a learning experience for everyone involved. Madonna would credit the encounter with helping her develop a more nuanced understanding of artistic tradition, while Alain would praise her eventual evolution as a performer who learned to combine innovation with respect for classical forms. If this incredible story of wisdom triumphing over arrogance has inspired you, make sure to subscribe and share this video with someone who needs to understand that true artistry comes from building upon tradition rather than simply rejecting it. Tell us in the comments about times when you've seen experience provide gentle education to youthful overconfidence, because sometimes the most important lessons about art and life come from those who have earned their wisdom through decades of authentic achievement and cultural understanding. The ripple effects of the Wembley moment continued to influence cultural discourse long after the MTV cameras stopped rolling. Within days of the broadcast, major newspapers and cultural magazines across Europe and America were publishing extended analyses of what the exchange revealed about the state of international entertainment and the relationship between artistic innovation and cultural tradition. European cultural critics largely celebrated Alain's response as a perfect demonstration of how sophisticated artistic education could be delivered without condescension or hostility. Many noted that his approach, transforming criticism into teaching, anger into analysis, exemplified exactly the kind of cultural refinement that European artistic institutions had been cultivating for centuries. American entertainment journalists were more divided in their reactions. While many praised Alain's eloquence and dignity, others suggested that his response represented exactly the kind of European cultural elitism that American popular culture had been created to challenge. This division itself became part of the broader conversation about cultural values and artistic priorities that the incident had sparked. The entertainment industry's response was particularly fascinating to observe. Many established performers, both American and European, publicly praised Alain's handling of the situation as a masterclass in professional dignity under pressure. However, younger artists were split between those who admired his sophistication and those who felt his response was too dismissive of contemporary innovation and cultural change.
For MTV itself, the incident became a defining moment that influenced how the network approached cultural programming for years to come. The unexpected depth and sophistication of the exchange demonstrated that their young audience was capable of engaging with complex cultural discussions when those discussions were presented in compelling and authentic ways. The Wembley moment also had a significant impact on how international award shows and cultural events were structured and moderated in subsequent years. Event producers became more aware of the potential for cultural misunderstandings and generational tensions, leading to more careful preparation of presenters and more thoughtful consideration of how different artistic traditions could be respectfully represented within the same program. The incident's influence on Madonna's artistic development became increasingly apparent in her subsequent work. Her albums and performances in the years following 1987 showed a growing sophistication and awareness of cultural tradition that many critics directly attributed to her encounter with Alain's perspective on artistic development and cultural responsibility. For Alain, the incident further enhanced his reputation as not just a performer, but as a cultural ambassador who could articulate complex ideas about art and tradition with both authority and grace. His response became a frequently referenced example of how cultural differences could be addressed through intelligence and dignity rather than defensiveness or aggression.